Yes, very nice to be here today. I'm gonna give you some status of today's situation with transport and where we're heading today. And I was asked to be quite concrete with what's coming and what's available with regards to models, car models, etc., with that are renewable. First, I'm going to address one issue that the former speaker addressed regarding emissions from electric cars. And I think we should flip this around a little. If you think a way ahead in time, where we're going with our transport sector and our energy sector, we want our emissions to go down to zero. How can you achieve that? Well, is it possible to achieve that with internal combustion engines on the cars? Well, probably not. If you had enough biofuel that you could produce worldwide, then maybe. But we won't have enough bioresources to produce all that biofuels. So how can we get to zero in the transport sector? Well, then we will have to remove the internal combustion engine. And also in the energy production, electricity production sector, how do we get to zero there? Well, there we also remove combustion steam engines, etc., and go to renewable sources. And the world's target is to get there. It's going to take some time, but the transport sectors and the energy sectors are slowly changing in every country in the world. So that's why maybe today, in some regions, the worst coal regions, driving an electric car in specific cases can be lead to more CO2 emissions right now. But where we're heading is that production CO2 emissions from production of the electric car is going down, and the generation of the electricity and the emissions from that is also going down. So I think we should be feel safe that electric cars is a safe way to go forward in reducing emissions from the transport sector. And of course, if you put the Norwegian current electricity mix when you use an electric car, then it's a no-brainer. It's a lot more climate friendly. Okay, that was a long introduction. I'm just gonna go to our first slide. Where do we need to go with the transport sector? Well, Zero has done some work on this. This is one of the main issues that we're trying to tackle as a climate organization. We need to get rid of all CO2 emissions from the transport sector. And how can we do that? Well, a few years back, we sat down with experts from all part of the transport and from many sectors, and asked ourselves, how can we get, is it possible to get a fossil-free transport sector in 2030? And what we figured out, the main highlight from here, is that we need to work with biofuels, we need to work with electricity as much as we can, and we will also need hydrogen in our transport sector if we are to go to climate-friendly transport sector. And indeed, we also need to reduce transport demand and modal shifts and improving energy efficiency. But the main takeaway from this graph is that we have to work with all renewable solutions if we are to get to zero in our transport sector. Yes. So, just a little highlight of the current policy framework for transport. Regarding electric cars, the current government has said that we're gonna continue the tax exemptions for electric cars until 2021, at least. And there's a ruling from the parliament that electric cars should pay maximum 50% toll parking and ferry costs for electric vehicles. That's a very important rule for the long-term development for electric vehicles, because of course electric vehicles at one point, when they get a large enough market share and when they're competitive, of course they're gonna have to pay for parking and toll fees and also purchase taxes. But for now, until we have a transport sector where they are predominant, then we need to give them some incentives and exemptions. And this is a very important. Those two principles are very, very important. And the National Transport Plan has set some goals, long-term goals for the passengers, cars, and transport sector. One is that all electric or all passenger cars and light vans should be emission-free by 2025, and all new heavy vans will be emission-free from 2030. And commercial transport in the largest cities is to be close to emission-free by 2030. Those goals are vast. I mean, they're very not offensive. Offensivt på norsk, that works in Norwegian, but it doesn't work in English, sorry. Ambitious, they're very ambitious. Yeah, and of course there are a lot of more detailed more detailed policies that I could bring forward here, but those are some of the highlights. So, what do we see on the horizon, or not horizon, this year coming with electric passenger cars? Well, there are 6 models that are coming to the market this year. Hopefully they all will come this year. We have seen some delays. And this year is the start where we're going to see that the sales of electric cars are really going to go up more than we've seen already. And the cars that are becoming available now are cars that can be used for by families and more normal family economies. And this is just the beginning. I mean, the electrification of passenger cars has really just begun. You see, all the major car manufacturers, they are putting forward ambitious targets for electrification of their passenger cars. And Bloomberg New Energy Finance says that if we go with this speed on electrification of the passenger cars, electric passenger cars will probably be upfront. The upfront of electric passenger cars will be cost comparative. Will reach cost parity in 2024-25 on a global basis. So where we're headed is that electric cars will be a very important way ahead for the next years. So we've seen in Norway that there's a fantastic growth of electric passenger cars. And now I'm going to speak a little more about vans. And electric vans in particular. We had a breakfast seminar last week, and many of you have brought these and many of you took them from here. We launched this policy briefing last week, and I'm going to speak a little about what our findings were there. So we have a fantastic growth for electric passenger cars, but what's going on with the electric vans? They've reached a market share of 2% of the new car sales, and I should say this, in March they reached actually 5 or 6%. So that's very good, but still at the same time in March in Hordaland, was it 55% or something? 54, yeah. So I mean, the electric vans are probably where the situation for electric passenger cars were in 2012, before Tesla Model S was on the market, and we had only Leaf and iMIV. So there's a long way ahead. And as you may have seen from a previous slide, we have the same goal for light electric vans as for passenger cars. By 2025, all vans, light vans, should be emission-free in sales. All sales of vans emission-free. So we have a lot to catch up with here. And if you read this policy briefing, we map out some strong incentives that may help to accelerate this. So where are we today in regards to models? Well, last year and this year, we've seen launching of 2 models that are up to 200 kilometers real range. The previous ones were less than 100 kilometers real range. They have actually towing hitch, but it's pretty. It's not 1,200 kilograms of towing you can do. It's like 400 kilograms. So it's a start, and they don't have 4x4, but in the small segment, that's not too common, actually. So a question here is, can electric vans be economically viable? Well, we made some calculations on this in our briefing, and in a standard case, they are slightly profitable, and but a very important issue here is that you need to be close to a city and pass the toll what do you call them? Toll road quite often for them to become economically viable. And if you see Bergen, you have a very pretty good case here. This is a sort of a worst case for the diesel van. I must say, you pass 230 days per year, and then you pass in rush hour once a day, and off-peak rush hour once a day. Then you get this picture. But the main takeaway here is that actually electric vans on market today can be quite economically viable. And that's something to check out for the local businesses here. Yes, and larger vans are also becoming available in Norway, and these are some models that are getting to market hopefully this year. Sprinter and a Chinese manufacturer called Maxus, and MAN will probably also come to Norway. Those are large vans, 3.5 tons. And then the lowest one on the right there is Electric Vito, which is also hopefully coming this year. We had some very good signals on our breakfast seminar from these manufacturers. So that's very good. So moving ahead to larger, heavier stuff. These are some available fossil-free trucks. And here the status is that many, us included, we speak a lot about electrification of all parts of the transport sector, and that's a direction that we're headed. But still today, the model availability is you have one available electric truck model that you can go to a store and order today, and that's the EMOS from Netherlands. It's rebuilt from MAN and DAF. And there are some customers in Norway, more customers buying this, and it's fun to watch the development here. In regards to other trucks, you have biogas, liquid and compressed. Here we see some very good developments with regards to larger engines, better trucks, more economically viable, and an industry growing with the production of liquid biogas in Norway. So we see a new fresh start for biogas in heavy-duty transport, and we think that it can play an important role in heavy transport. The same is with bioethanol. We have ASCO here presenting there. They have a fleet of bioethanol trucks that are functioning well, and new engines are on the way from Scania here, which will be a very good development for those kinds of trucks. And there are several electric trucks on the way to the market as well. But those are mainly, with one exception, those are distribution trucks. So for electric trucks, you have the issue of the long-range heavy-duty trucks. Tesla is the only manufacturer that claims to solve this with large enough batteries. But so far, no other truck manufacturer has come to market with that. So here we believe that hydrogen trucks can play a very important role, and they are also on their way. You have Nikola in the US gaining traction, and a very exciting project here in Norway with ASCO, developing a hydrogen truck with Scania, which is also, as far as we know, it's on track. So that's very positive. And you also have a very exciting movement on the large construction vehicles. Here you have a Norwegian company called Poon Equipment. They themselves have developed a large 26-ton battery electric digger. And they're producing 10, they're starting the production of this this year and developing new models with battery electric drive. And today they have a huge upfront cost, and they're quite expensive. But we see a market there with public procurement playing a very important role to stimulate this kind of development. And maybe we can be the early market in Norway for electric construction equipment as well, and maybe get the snowball rolling enough so that large manufacturers such as Caterpillar start doing that in-house and start serial production of electric construction equipment as well. So I'm gonna end very soon. What can you do today as a business wanting to switch to more renewable transport? Well, if you have passenger cars and electric vans in your portfolio, do a serious consideration of especially electric vans in all new purchases and leasing contracts. You may find that it will work. And check out the possibility of biogas and bioethanol trucks. They are on the rise, hopefully in Norway now, with the production of both coming, and the distributors such as AGA and STN. They're developing the distribution network for those solutions. And also check out the Enova's support schemes for if you do renewable investments in your transport fleet. So just at the very end here, it's important to remember we're talking about electrification, hydrogen, and biofuels, and sometimes people think that those are competing. We always say that there's plenty of room for all renewable solutions. If we are to get rid of this black cake, we have to work with all those solutions. So, yeah, thank you. That was all from me.